when we met, I think she was like a 2 or a 3 handicap. I was like a very keen and improving like 12 or so at the time. So I think the first match we ever played together, I think she gave me 4 aside, and I think she still beat me.
Nice.
Uh, but uh, but yeah, so golf was always something that we shared, and then as you know, we played more and more together. I worked as hard as I could to try to beat her more occasionally than than when we started. And the annoying part is that as I've kept improving, she keeps getting better too. So now she's I think a +1, and she is annoyingly good.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Whole Story Podcast. Robbie and Jonathan here. We've got two very special guests, Nick and Haley. We will introduce them more and what they are doing in the world of golf here in a second. Before we get started, Jonathan's rocking a nice Holderness and Bourne polo. I've got a hoodie on. Holderness and Bourne is one of our partners, friends in doing this thing. It is still summer. It is still warm. They do still have their summer 2024 styles and colors out. I did see that they're starting to tease out their fall line, so that'll be excited to check that out. But two friends, Alex Holderness and John Bourne, founded this. You find it in pro shops all over the place. Great golf logos on all their stuff. It's clothes that it's not too loose, not too tight, fits well on and off the course. And I've played in my my polo from Holderness and Bourne a number of times already, and it's incredible. Go to hpgolf.com, use the code BESTBALL for complimentary shipping on your next order. I know something these guys probably use a lot, golf tees. We do as well. Western Birch makes incredible golf tees. Lewis and the team there, it's crazy what they do, right? Somehow can put on the inside of the cup of the tee, can put incredible logos like the one here with Best Ball that I'm holding, but you can customize them any colors that you want. So if you've, let's say, got a golf company that specializes in travel to Scotland, you can get them custom for that. So go to westernbirch.com and be sure again to use Best Ball to get a free gift with your order. But Jonathan, let's introduce our guests. We've got Nick and Haley. One of our previous guests on the show, Kyla Nava, she teaches there at Predator Ridge over in Vancouver. She had mentioned we need to get these guys on. They went on some kind of a honeymoon for 6 months. My wife asked, how did that happen? But for 6 months over in Scotland playing links golf, loved it so much. And this is what Kyla was saying. Loved it so much, they said, we need to start a travel company. And so now they have East Sands Golf Co. So guys, Nick and Haley, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast.
Cheers. Thanks so much for having us. We're very excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, so I don't know who I need to ask first, but most guys can't get away for a 4-hour round. And somehow you're like, honey, listen, here's the idea. Hear me out. Let's go play golf on our honeymoon for 6 months. Who is it among you that decided that was the great idea? Obviously, both of you play golf, I assume, or what's going on there? How does that work?
Yeah, believe it or not, that was my pitch. We've kind of a funny origin story. Nick and I met late 2019, and we didn't really start dating until early 2020, January 2020. So we spent a lot of our early relationship in various stages of lockdown in Canada, and probably about a year and a half in, I think like an Omicron lockdown or something like that, I started to say, okay, when the world opens back up to us, we got to make up for lost time. And Nick was pretty hesitant to, like quit jobs and backpack and that sort of thing. And so I knew a pitch that he would not be able to refuse was 6 months in Scotland.
Very nice, very nice. So did you guys play golf together before you started dating?
We met through like one of the main like online dating apps, and we both had sort of golf on our profile. Haley played college golf at the University of British Columbia, one of the best Canadian golf programs. When we met, I think she was like a 2 or a 3 handicap. I was like a very keen and improving like 12 or so at the time. So I think the first match we ever played together. I think she gave me four aside, and I think she still beat me. But,
Nice.
but but yeah, so golf was always something that we shared, and then as we played more and more together, I worked as hard as I could to try to beat her more occasionally than than when we started. And the annoying part is that as I've kept improving, she keeps getting better too. So now she's I think a +1, and she is annoyingly good.
Yeah, you've got an Instagram handle called the $1 Million Match. So you guys, for fun, playing, very competitive. I'm guessing, Haley, you still giving strokes?
It kind of depends. We're pretty evenly matched these days, especially if I play. Obviously, Nick has a length benefit off the tee. So if we play like a tee apart, we pretty much play straight up. Nick's down to about a 2. So honestly, if we play the same tee this year, he started giving me maybe a shot on like maybe the longest par 4 or something like that. So yeah, we're pretty evenly matched these days. It's funny that that account actually was a bit of a precursor to this trip to Scotland. You can imagine we were starting to kind of annoy our non-golf friends with a lot of golf Instagram. A lot of my girlfriends in particular started to vocally complain to me about it, and I was like, all right, well, we're going to want to scrapbook. So how can we build a place where the people that care, maybe our parents and whoever else follows along, can watch? And yeah, we always joke that we have $1 million on the line because we figure, $1 million between friends, it's never really going to change hands. So that's kind of the beginning of the $1 million match.
So who's up? Who's +2 million, +4? Like, where do we stand
I
on
think
so far?
Haley's up 2 million on me right now. Took a million off of her on Saturday, which was a huge win for the program. I was very excited about that. Doesn't happen that often, so I got to celebrate the wins.
Yeah, got to cash in while you can, right?
Yeah.
Well, getting better at golf, they always say you should watch the women's game because they're just better at golf. We just try
Oh,
to hit it too hard and too far.
when we early on, I think in dating, we played a match one time where the rule was I could only hit a club that was going to go as far as the club Haley was hitting. So if she was hitting driver, and at the time she hit it 220, my hybrid went a little bit farther than that, so I had to go 4 iron, and probably wasn't anyway, was close at that point. But playing a par 5 like Haley was playing it at the time was really humbling because the only thing I really had was to be able to like hit a driver, hit a hybrid up somewhere near the green, try to get up and down for like an easy birdie and hold on for dear life. But if I have to hit a 4 iron and then another really good 4 iron and then a good wedge, and then I was like, oh man, like I think I lost that match 5-4 or 5-3 or something like that. It was like it was a disaster.
Yeah, you quickly learn how short game comes into play, and that
Yeah,
evens the playing field.
seriously.
Does the $1 million bet, does that go into other areas of life too? Like who can pick up faster, who can like drive safer, or is it just golf?
I think we've never actually extended beyond golf, but that's an interesting idea.
It kind of started as a dollar match, actually. We have really close friends who say they're very competitive as well. We obviously are. And they say they put $1 on everything, and it helps keep their relationship light, instead of letting little tiny things that could be competitive become more attention. And so we used to joke that we'd play for $1, and then we're like, well, if we're not going to hand over a loonie, we might as well be playing for more. So I think the first time we ever said it was like actually just to get a rise out of our playing partners that didn't know us. They asked what we were playing for, and we're like, oh, $1 million. But yeah, the dollar bet has definitely bled elsewhere into the relationship. But I don't think the $1 million have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a whole office once where the whole entire office, we set the culture that everything was a dollar bet. So like the over under on how long it took to get to lunch, the over under on how many mistakes someone would make, and everyone had quarters lined up on their desk. And it was
Amazing.
like it was great to walk past and see $4 or $5 lined up because you knew you had a good week. So
Yeah.
that's a fun idea. If you got a competitive family, a dollar bet's a safe way to go. Because then it's just for like I own your dollar, not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're competitive with everything. At our wedding, we had a chalkboard bet on old fashions versus martinis, and whoever we had like the first drink was lined up. It was like pre-made cocktails, and whoever took one, they had to mark down on the chalkboard. And I think we bet $100 on who was going to win. That everything's a bet.
We don't have to talk.
Wait, which one? Which one won that one?
The old fashioned might have won. I think I took.
All right, good. Good. If we were invited, I would have helped for the old-fashioned cause. So.
Perfect.
Yep. All right. So Haley, it sounds like this Scotland 6-month trip was your idea. Maybe you influenced that. Had you been before? what caused you to say, "Hey, let's just pack up and move for 6 months to Scotland to play some links golf"?
Yeah, good question. So we'd both been before. I'd been twice before we got engaged. Nick had been once, and then the week actually after we got engaged fall of 2022, and on a week's notice, decided to go over. We'd kind of been playing around with this idea for years at this point, 2 years probably at this point. But we figured we needed to scope it out, figure out a course we could join while we were over there, kind of make it work financially. And so when we actually left in April of 23, I had then been 3 times and Nick had been twice, just once together. We both absolutely love the country. Scotland's one of those places in Europe. I mean, obviously as a golf fan, everyone, it's like the Mecca. But even for friends and family that aren't golfers, it's very underrated. Like it's not, the Italy or the Portugal that's kind of top of everyone's escape to Europe, but it is absolutely beautiful. The people are incredible. It's a really humble, kind of more subdued type of person, but super, super generous, super open once you kind of crack the shell. And we both had found that before. So we knew it was somewhere that we both loved. It afforded us this opportunity to play a ton of golf. Within the Commonwealth, as Canadians, we can be anywhere in the Commonwealth for up to 6 months without a visa. So that was a big part of it was, okay, where can we go that, we're not going too far from home. We can still work our North American jobs, albeit funky hours. And there's not too much kind of front end logistics. So there were a few considerations, a few factors, but we never really talked about anywhere else in the UK. It was always like, if we're going to go, we're going to go to Scotland.
Did you have a home base, a city in Scotland that you parked and kind of said, "This is where we're going to start and end each day or after each trip"?
Yeah. We rented a flat on the east part of St. Andrews itself, and that's where East Sands comes from. That's the name of the beach that our flat backed onto. And so that was home. We had both been there before and absolutely loved St. Andrews. We ended up joining a golf course that's about 25 minutes south of St. Andrews. So I think Scots think that that's a bit of a drive, but the North American mindset is just like, we would go like 3 hours north on a day trip and they would be like, I've never been up to Inverness because that seemed really far to them. So that was an advantage we had. But yeah, we planted roots in St. Andrews, and that was kind of home base. We did a lot of travel throughout the country, and as we kind of ran out of time and still had a lot of things that we wanted to tick off on our list, we would do kind of 2-day trips midweek, get an Airbnb in a different town, play golf in the morning, and then work from the Airbnb in the afternoons because weekends started to be fewer than we had golf courses left to tick off.
So how many rounds and how many courses did you end up doing?
You know what? We actually haven't done the full count, which is silly. We need to go back and look through our calendars. I know we figure we played like over 60 rounds at London Golf Club where we joined. And then we played 42 other golf courses. We know that around the UK and Ireland. We did take 1 week as an official honeymoon off work, and we went and played a few rounds in Ireland. So yeah, we played, I guess that means in 6 months we played probably about 110 rounds of golf. But we definitely covered some miles and ticked off a lot.
So what was the name of the course you said you guys joined?
It's called London Golf Club, but it's spelled Lundin, not like the capital of England. Great little quirky out and back links course. It was designed by old Tom Morris, and then golf got so popular there that the course actually had to split in two. So now it's London Golf Club and Leven Golf Club, and they put a stone wall between the two nines. They each took 9, and they got James Braid, who built 400 links courses in the UK, to build 9 more holes at each spot. So super cool, like lots of history. I think it's 1867 was when it was founded. So very cool home away from home for us.
Now, as a member, did that get you access to play other courses?
Yeah, it gave us 11 reciprocals around the country for like around 20 to 30 pounds a piece. And so we definitely started to, plan some of our weekends away or midweek trips around where we had reciprocals left. There were a lot of golf courses that were very much on our radar when we went over, and then there were quite a few reciprocals that we didn't really know about or hadn't heard that much about when we landed and got the list. And some of those are like among the, I would say, true hidden gems, like, the courses that not everyone talks about, but that we feel very fortunate to have played and developed a point of view on. And we got to play them for like a fifth the price it would cost to come in off the street. So yeah, it was an awesome setup. And we've kept our membership at London. We feel like we paid for a year's worth of international membership and we played it 60 times. We could probably go a couple years not playing that much and still be in the black.
So you're obviously not living in Scotland now, but with a golf membership, how often are you going back and forth? Is it like, hey, it's Saturday, let's just see if we can catch a flight and go back for a Sunday round, or
I would definitely be pitching that if we were on the East Coast
yeah.
of Canada or the US. I think the flight being, 5 or 6 hours and not 11 or something would make a difference. We're actually going back to Scotland. We're hosting a little sort of Ryder Cup style trip in September that's mostly sort of friends and family. We're kind of treating it like a delayed launch party. And we're doing that in Gullen, which is like 45 minutes east of Edinburgh. Very cool 3-course golf club in a really charming town. And so on that trip, we'll stop into London and we'll get, at least one round in at the home course. But I think the goal is every year would be really nice if as we keep going and as this becomes more and more of what we do, if we could be back in Scotland for a month in the summer or something like that, that would be really awesome. But one of the things that blew our mind when we were looking into this was that membership is just such a different thing because every course over there is what we would consider semi-private. So they all have memberships and really active, they have competitions, like it's a real true membership, but they also have visitor play allowed almost every day. And then, even Muirfield allows visitor play, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so because of that, the membership costs are so subsidized that an international membership at our course over there is £475 a year. And then there's no
Wow.
monthly dues on top of that. So it's about like 600 USD, something like that. And so it's like, I don't know, if in 2 years we go and play 4 rounds, it's like, okay, we've paid for the cost of paying for it for 2 years. Like it's great. It's like the best deal in golf.
Hopefully they don't listen too closely to this, so it makes it not good time.
I'm gonna say whenever you show up, we're like, hey, the Canadians are here, because I mean, you obviously played a lot of golf over
Yeah.
a couple months, and I'm assuming you became quite the story among the pub or post round drinks of what are you two doing? And every guy there is probably like, how in the world did you find a woman that decided to let you go play golf for 6 months of the honeymoon, right?
And she's beating you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the best part because it's her idea. No one gets it that it's her idea.
Yeah.
Everyone assumes that it'd be the guy's idea. She probably did it just because she knows she can beat you.
Right.
She's like, we're gonna start the relationship off with a statement, which is 6 months of beating you down in golf.
On a regular basis. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so you guys lived in St. Andrews, and the name East Sands comes from that. So, what inspired you to start a golf travel company planning trips to Scotland?
Yeah, so funny part of our whole story was that the day we actually flew to Scotland, I got caught up in a reorg sort of restructuring at the tech company I was working at. So joined a Zoom call at 9 in the morning, and the chief operating officer of the company was on it with HR, and I was like, oh, I know what that means. So the day we flew, I got laid off and had like 4 months or so of severance. So it went from pretty unsettling to pretty quickly being like, well, it's actually not the worst thing in the world. So when we landed, I did a bunch of the life admin stuff to get us set up while Haley was working her job. But I quickly sort of figured out that applying for my next role and figuring that out wasn't going to be a 40-hour a week type of commitment. So when I was applying for an apartment in St. Andrews, I dropped by the caddy pavilion at the old course and asked if they needed any help. And they said that they didn't really down at the old course, but they did up at the castle course, which is like 8 minutes east. And so I spent the first 10 weeks we were in Scotland caddying pretty much every day. So we would wake up, we would go first tee time out at our course, play at about 7 a.m. We'd play in like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I would drop Haley at home. I would drive to the golf course, and then I would loop in the afternoon. And so that was very fun. My favorite job I've ever had. But why that was inspirational was that I caddied for a lot of people, mostly Americans, some Canadians, and then some from elsewhere. and a lot of people were on a really similar itinerary, and that goes from like low single digit, clearly very keen golfers to like less capable players, let's say, or people who kind of would ask me on like the first tee, like, hey, so what's this place all about? Like, what's this place called again? Like, some people really knew their itinerary, some people didn't know at all, but they were all kind of playing the same hits over and over again. And the research we did when we kind of got inspired on this was that the price point tends to be really similar, and just our thought was that not everyone needs to be on the exact same trip. I think some people are probably scared about a Scotland trip when they look it up and they say, oh, a trip in Scotland costs 8 grand, and you play Carnoustie, you play the Old Course, and you play Kingsbarns, and those are all incredible. But some people go, oh, I don't have 8 grand to spend on this. I guess it has to wait. And our point of view is that that trip is awesome. Like, a lot of people should do it, but there's a $4,500 trip and a $15,000 trip that have a different spot for the right person. So we wanted to create like a really boutiquey, not one size fits all, not one template, and try to sell it to as many people we can via Instagram ads. Like, truly, like, send us an email and we'll put together an itinerary that we think makes sense for you. And we think that there's a spot for that for a lot of golfers.
So does that process look like, hey, I've got 10 buddies that I want to go with. Our budget's $3,500 plus airfare. Can you figure out where we can play for 6 days? Is it that sort of conversation?
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of it is us up front, kind of what Nick was talking about, getting a sense of like, why do you want to go to Scotland? Like,
Yep.
Are you guys, total keeners, want to play 36 a day, willing to drive, these crazy single lane roads on the left side of the road to do it? Or are you looking for an adventure that's maybe more family friendly, or that, to your point, costs a little bit less, or really focuses on in and around Edinburgh because you're there for a function or you're there for work or whatever. Really understanding like what people want from their trip. Do they want us to suggest an itinerary that allows them to do some other big tourist hits in Scotland? Do they want to just go hard on golf, cram it all in? So there's lots of upfront discovery, just to make sure that we're building something that really fits for them. I think we have a unique perspective on that because we have a male and female player. We've played with a huge variety of people as a result of our individual experiences, growing up around golf. And so we could see firsthand, oh, okay, not everyone belongs on the Catholic course, for instance, where Nick was caddying.
So does that mean Nick is the caddy whenever we go out? Is that what happens? He's like, all right, I'm going to be your 4 caddy for this course. I've played it before. My wife beat me on hole number 9.
Yeah.
This is the shot you shouldn't take.
I can do double duty if that's cool with you. I can give you all the lines, but I'd also like to hit a ball if that's if that's cool with you.
Is it? And a serious question, like, are you guys the ones that meet? Like, if we were going to set up a trip, would you meet us over there, sort of be like handling all the admin stuff, or is it sort of here's what you're supposed to do, good luck, talk to Roger on 6th Street whenever you get there?
It's kind of between those two. It's like most people would do a trip that is like planned by us and not like chaperoned, for instance. So most of them wouldn't be like the big ones that have 20 people in them and we're on the bus and helping with the sightseeing. There is a model that goes with that. A lot of like private clubs will run like a member trip once a year to Ireland or Scotland or something, and that I think it would look a little bit more like that. More of our trips are 4 people, 8 people, kind of doing it themselves once they get to Scotland, but all the tee times, all the ground transportation, all the accommodations, and then like a lot of suggestions for dinner reservations,
Yeah.
and like that in between. And then what we look to do is like set up a WhatsApp chat, set up like as much back and forth, being available as much or as little as people want for questions that they have, or hey, how much, like, what's the going rate to tip a caddy again, things like that. We're super happy to have that conversation and just kind of nerd out about golf as well. Ask them what they thought about, the 4th hole at London and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's great. So we talked to David Jones, better known in the Twitter world as the UK golf guy. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. And you've kind of already referenced this, but he talked about, there's some people that go on these trips and they want to hit the named courses, right? All the famous ones that you've listed, but you've already referenced that there are a lot of hidden gems. And that's what he said. Like, instead of going and being on a van for a day and missing it, like, you're driving past so many good courses. So What are some of the favorite hidden gems there in Scotland? And I know there's probably a billion of them, but what are some courses that you really like that might not be as widely known?
Want to take this one?
Sure, yeah. I one of the ones I was like, I say this tongue in cheek, but I was really bummed out when Tron Carter from No Laying Up shouted out Dunbar Golf Club on the No Laying Up podcast like last week or the week before because he compared it favorably to North Berwick, which has become really famous over the last 5 to 10 years. It was already well known, but it's really blown up as like Spieth and JT go play there before the Scottish Open. And I totally agree. Dunbar is like another 20-ish minutes along East Lothian along the coast, a little bit farther away from Edinburgh, and it is like wicked. It has like it's like a handsome links course that has a good amount of quirk too. It's got like a really interesting routing. It is like very, very pretty views out there. It's kind of as good as it gets, and it's not kind of in that like 325 pound green fee kind of zone. I mean, it keeps getting talked about on podcasts that it might become that. Um, the other one I would shout out that is, I think, well known to a certain extent, but it is such a pain to get to that I think it gets skipped, is Machrihanish Golf Club is on the edge of the world. It is like, it's 4.5 hours from Glasgow. It is like next stop Ireland. It's so far southwest in Scotland. And it is awesome. It is it's also a old Tom Morris. It has, I think, the best opening tee shot in golf. Dogleg left across the public beach. Um, it is just like a really, really cool place that you feel like you've got to earn a little bit to get down there. And it's kind of surrounded by like Machrihanish Dunes is a newer course that has a crazy story as well. I think built in 2008. And then it's ringed by like a couple really charming nine-holers, Dunaverty and Carradale. So um, Campbelltown, which is where Machrihanish is the only single town that is its own sort of whiskey appellation as well. So it's got Glen Scotia and it's got the other one escapes me, but it's actually like a very cool town to go spend 2 or 3 days in. And again, if you got that North American driving mindset, it's not too bad. So that's one that holds a special spot for both of us.
Yeah, 4.5 hours. I'm in my same state. I haven't even left the
Right.
state of Georgia in 4.5 hours. That's an easy one. It sounds like that's an itinerary you should put out there as a rounder, right? You say, hey, you're gonna land, you're gonna drive 4.5 hours, you're gonna spend 3 or 4 days and play all these cool courses. So, what are some of the stuff? So, let's say we did go to the edge of the world. What would we do off course? I mean, is it just you hang out at some random pub, or are there places that you guys have found that you're like, you've got to stop here?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the region. Our kind of philosophy is that on like a 10 to 14 day trip, you should really focus on two golf regions. You kind of bucket it down to like five, six main golf regions in Scotland. Just because there is so much depth and so much variety that you don't have to like relocate every day. And I think depending on how much of the off the course stuff you want to do, it starts to dictate where you go. There's obviously like St. Andrews is a university town first and foremost, right? So there's so much there for students, and there's so much tourism in the region of Fife in general. One of our favorite things to do, there's local cricket games on the beach. They carve a cricket pitch into the beach at Ely, and the locals play every other weekend in the summer. And so, there's things like that. And depending what people are looking for, if you want to go see Loch Ness, obviously you're gonna include the Highlands. And if you're really into Scotch, you're gonna want to head up north as well. So it really just depends. But I think the thing that stands out is where there is a links course, there is a beach in Scotland, and the beaches are insane. Like we were, posting pictures to our Instagram, and people were like, "Oh, where'd you guys fly to?" Thinking that, we're somewhere tropical now or somewhere in the Mediterranean, and we're still in Scotland. So there's, beautiful like white sand beaches basically everywhere. If you want to, keep a morning off golf and you want to just take a coffee and go for a nice long walk, you basically can't go wrong.
Water's so cold, but very pretty.
I was just about to ask. I'm pretty sure it's not quite the Mediterranean in terms of weather. Was there anything? I'm a foodie. I love to eat, honestly. I mean, is there anything that you were like, as you go along the country, you got to try this one thing at every single stop? Because each group has their own space, has their own type.
So, so kind of two answers there. One is that like the pubby food is actually like very kind of the menus are very consistent. So you'll get, I think Scotland or Scottish food gets kind of a like a bad rap. It's actually like quite good. It's just that like if you eat it in a pub 14 days straight, you're gonna eat a lot of like, you know, macaroni and cheese and steak and ale pie and fish and chips, which is all very tasty. It's like
Sold.
trying different steak and ale pies and stuff is actually you could do a lot worse in terms of eating your way around, the country. So like trying those and just getting like a local sense of like, what some of like the top specials are on their menu, you don't go wrong. I was actually blown away both in like the grocery store as well as on, the actual menu at restaurant, how fresh and local like produce and things like that is in Scotland. Like you go to like Marks and Spencer's, the one of like the main St. Andrews grocery stores there, and it's like all throughout the UK. And like the thing of strawberries says that they were, grown in Perthshire, which is like an hour away. Like everything's actually it's a tiny country and everything's just like grown right there. And at restaurants, like you'll go and you'll have a piece of, seafood that came out of the ocean like yesterday. So if you go sort of half a tier up from the pub, I thought the food was exceptional. Some of the best seafood I've ever eaten, really fresh, whether it's like root vegetables or,
Strawberries. Oh my God, the
yeah.
strawberries in Scotland. They're like as big as your head. And they're, the organic ones are. It's like, yeah, the produce is no joke.
Yeah.
I'm in. When are we going?
Yeah, it might maybe not all those things on the days you're going to go play 36, but
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, you guys posted today on your Instagram about a trip that coincides with the Walker Cup that's going to be played at Lahinch there in Ireland. Matt Adams on the Golf Channel had mentioned before Lahinch is one of his favorite courses there in Ireland. But tell us about the trip that you guys were kind of packaging around this event, and I know you do that for other events as well, right?
Yeah, so I guess on top of the custom trips where we're planning everything for you, plan is at least once a year to host something as well. Nick and I were super fortunate last year. The Walker Cup came to the Old Course, and we got to go. And in a year that was pretty very well, where we hit a lot of bucket list spectating experiences. We went to the Scottish Open. We got to see the Dunhill, of course. It's played right in Fife. And we went to the Ryder Cup on our way home as well. The Walker Cup stood out to us as like the be all end all experience. It's 25 pounds to get in the door. And there's, at least at the Old Course, like no ropes, and you're competing with like 2,000 people, not 75,000 people, to see essentially professional golf. These are guys that are like going to turn pro in a month, maybe a year. And so we were kind of breaking our Scotland focus, obviously, to take a trip to Lahinch, but we played Lahinch on our honeymoon week in Ireland. Like you said, like high on the charm factor, high on quirk, very, very cool venue, and one that couldn't host a lot. It's a small piece of property and there's not room to build out like probably even like an Irish Open amount of infrastructure these days. And so when we learned that they're hosting the Walker Cup and we had this phenomenal experience, we thought, all right, let's expose more people to just how cool this is. So yeah, the plan is, we're kind of making an educated guess that most golf fans are going to stick around in the Southwest and play, if they can't get on Lahinch itself, then play Ballybunion and Waterville and Tralee and all of that. And so we're gonna ditch town once the Walker Cup wraps up, and we're gonna dot the coastline north. Go play Carn and Rossapena and St. Patrick's Links and a few others, and then make our way into Northern Ireland. And plan is to finish everything off at Royal Portrush and then fly home from there. So a bit of a diversion from the Scotland focus, but we really could not resist going to the Walker Cup in Lahinch ourselves, and we figured why not take some folks with us.
Sounds like you are going to be the chaperones for this one.
That one for sure.
Yeah.
Chaperones and playing, I imagine.
Yeah, if we can sneak our way into the tee times for that, I think that we're going to make sure that we can.
The host always get to play. Come on, guys.
So beyond Ireland in 2026, what's next for East Sands Golf?
Yeah, it's an interesting business to get into because it's so forward looking. So right now the trips that we've booked are all, with the exception of our sort of delayed launch party in Gullin in this September, everything we're working on is for 2025. In 2025, we'll be working on 2026. And so it is sort of like a slow, controlled build as we, get the word out and get to work with more and more, keen golfers and plan some really fun trips. Um, we really mean it when we say we want to keep this operation small. Like, people talk about scale a lot. I don't know, if you work in tech or if you hear sort of like the whole tech conversations, like, oh, does it scale? Like, how does this grow to be a
Right.
100-person company, a 500-person company? How do we take it public? And like we do enough of that type of thinking in our day jobs right now that like we want to completely go to the opposite of that. We want to keep this thing small, work just the two of us, actually do the work ourselves, like not get like some crazy overhead, build out a sales team, build out, some of the things that we could really, you know, we could probably do a lot more top line revenue without really moving bottom line revenue at all and creating a lot more headaches. So the part that's fun for us is getting to talk to golfers and build out cool itineraries. So we don't want to outsource that to a more junior member of the team. So what's next for us is hopefully planning a lot more really fun trips, and getting to geek out about, yeah, like that's a great option, but so's this. And, it's almost like a bar type chat about like what's the best last course to add to the itinerary.
And is that just reaching out through Instagram, website? How would somebody, if I say, hey, I want to go on a trip at the end of 2025, how would they reach out and start that conversation?
Yeah, they can email us. Our Instagram is Eastlands Golf Co. And there's our email address is caddy@eastlandsgolf.co. So that's the easiest way to get in touch. But a DM on Instagram, a comment on Instagram, an email. Yes. We do have a form on our website if people want to do that. But so far, most people have just reached out and said, hey, there's 8 of us turning 60 next year, and we want your help figuring something out or something along those lines. And so, it really any way that people want to come in the door, whether it's through Instagram, by email, our phone numbers on our website, get in touch and we'll kind of take it from there.
Yeah. And who's going to be taking care of you guys. You've created kind of a boutique travel company, which is really cool because y'all do it all. And I think what stands out to me, Jonathan, maybe you agree, is the excitement that y'all have for doing it yourselves. And that can translate well into helping somebody fulfill maybe a once in a lifetime bucket list trip or something. So that seems really cool that you guys are doing that. So yeah, we're excited about what y'all are doing with it. But let's ask now that we are, let's get back to you guys playing golf. We ask everybody, I don't know if you heard Kyla doing this as well, but we ask everybody, what is your most memorable golf shot? And you guys are really good, so you might have to think about it for a second.
I have a good one off the top of my head, and then you can think for a second. So I am notorious. I'm admittedly a good golfer, and I am terrible at thinking on the golf course. I'm like totally a space cadet while I'm out there, and I routinely shoot the wrong thing with my Bushnell. And so last year we were playing Gully number 2 one day early in the morning, just the two of us in the rain, and I hit a shot and it kind of disappeared. I'm thinking I'm 90 yards out, and hit this little pitch shot up, and Nick's like, that went in the hole, and I was like, no, I gauged the wind wrong. That's way long. Turns out I was 20 yards off the yardage. I had gunned gorse bushes in the back. The wind was into, not with, whatever. I forget the exact details, but the ball went in the hole. Complete fluke. Like I thought it 110-yard punch shot, and I only needed to hit it 90. And it was memorable because obviously the ball went in the hole, and making an eagle from the fairway is always fun, but more so for Nick's reaction. He's like, that should not count as a 1 hole. You had no intention to hit the ball that far.
Yeah.
That's
Reverse mulligan for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I just lost $1 million on that shot. What about you, Nick?
My answer is honestly so punchable. I never had a hole in one until last year, and I made 2 last year, and both of them. So we're lucky in Vancouver, especially by Canadian standards. We basically have like if you're psycho, you can play 12 months of the year. Reliably, we have like a 10 and a half month long golf season. And the first one was January 26th and teed off at 2:00. Our home course is funny. It's kind of a front 11 and a back 7. So in the winter, you end up playing 11 holes and quitting a lot. And so on the second hole, I hit an 8-iron, it goes in. And suddenly it's like, well, we got to try to finish. And so it's like strap headlamps on and like try to finish in like the pitch black, and we did it. And then we go to Scotland for 6 months. We come back, and in November, I play with buddies, tee off at I think
The
210.
same buddy,
Yeah,
actually.
same guy actually in the group. He's my good luck charm. And our 10th hole is a par 3. So technically you can card a hole in one on a 9-hole round. And, you know, you want to have the real scorecard and have it all filled out, but like it would count in 9 holes. But on our 10th hole, I hit a shot and it literally never hit a blade of grass. It went from the tee, it hit the flagstick about 2 inches up, and it just went straight into the cup. And it's super not legit suddenly if we don't finish that round. So my one friend had to bail. The other one, we dumped half of our bags at the turn and literally ran the back 9. The back 7. We played the last 7 holes in about 45 minutes, and
Shot a 72 on the back, but he had a hole.
but yeah, so in both cases, finishing in like the pitch black just to get it in. But yeah, that's my most memorable, 1A and 1B.
Those are good memories.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. We still don't have our hole in one. We have ran because of lightning, but we've
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, golf friends. This is Robbie from Best Ball. Are you looking for the ultimate Myrtle Beach golf experience? Well, it's only a click away. Check out the 2-play special at 2 of America's most awarded public golf courses and 2 of my personal favorites. Caledonia Golf and Fish Club and True Blue Golf Club are low country masterpieces featuring 2 iconic Mike Strantz designs. Play these 2 incredible courses for one great price. Visit truebluegolf.com to learn more about the 2-play special and book your tee time today. That's truebluegolf.com.
All right, well, we like to do,
Yeah.
we like to do a thing we call the quick 9. So we're going to go back and forth. As I always say, you can be as loquacious as you prefer, or you can be short-winded too. So the first one, this is going to be hard. There's no way this is going to be an easy question. Favorite course that you've played?
So the cop-out answer here is that like there's like 5 courses that are impossible to separate. You'll get a different answer out of us at any time, whatever. Like the top tier is truly like that good. What we've landed on as our top answer is Royal Portrush, and the reason for that was that we got there's a member at our home course who's an international member at Portrush, and he introduced us to a Portrush member who took us out that day. And on the first tee, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love our friend Garth." He like 2 minutes warning. He goes, "He's got great stories. He was the captain of the Walker Cup. He played in the Masters. Like he won the British Am twice." And so it's like, what? Like honestly, like never heard of this guy. And then all of a sudden, I'm like starstruck and nervous on the first tee, and he's telling us stories like just the degree of hospitality. We ended up going out for dinner with our host that night and had like a great night out in the town in Portrush. So between the course, how spectacular it was, sort of easily in that top tier, and just like the day we had, Portrush is always our answer.
For both of you?
Honestly, yeah, that was a pretty. I like to
good
say
day.
I'm glad that Nick was there with me because I get to rank it ahead of our wedding day. Otherwise, I think. But we got a lot of flack. We got back from Scotland, and people, all that's like the number one question: what's your top course? And we named a course in Northern Ireland, and people were like, "What the hell? 6 months in Scotland, and you're not even naming a Scottish course?" I mean, it's tough. Like for me, on any given day, Royal Dornoch's right up there as well. North Berwick is pretty special, and we love London. Like if you could teleport us tomorrow to go play any golf course in the world, I think at least one of 7 times we would choose to go play our home course. There's some pretty special memories there too.
All right. Well, you played a lot. Is there a course that still sits at the top of your bucket list?
Top of the bucket list.
I think for me, it's here in Canada. I'd love to make it out. We haven't been out to Cabot in Nova Scotia, Cape Breton Island. So hopefully at some point, we did take off Cabot Highlands, Castle Stewart last year, but
Nice.
I think Cabot is really high on my list right now.
Yeah, there's a couple other courses we didn't make it to in Ireland that I'm really interested in. There's a chance that alongside a sort of day job work trip in about 6 weeks that we might be able to get on a course or 2 just outside of London. So whether that's Sunningdale, old or new, or some of the Heathland courses just outside of London are pretty special. So top of my mind, like Sunningdale Old and New is a 36 hole day that would be pretty high up on the list that I'm excited to tick off as soon as I can.
That sounds like fun. All right, we're going to narrow down the focus here. Favorite course was difficult. What is your favorite golf hole in Scotland? We'll ignore Ireland this time. Let's go to Scotland.
Okay.
Uh, I I think it's like a Bobby Jones quote or something that's like, if you say that you liked the old course after the first time you played it, you're lying, and if you don't like it after 10 times, you're an idiot. Something along those lines. I probably screwed up the quote a little bit. The old course, we've had the chance to play it twice. It's it's not the easiest ticket in town, but it's worth it when you can get it. And the I mean, there's 10 on the course that, are hard to pick between, but that stretch of like 16, 17, 18 coming in that you've seen in the Open, and that you have memories of Tiger and, Rory's heartbreak a couple years ago and stuff like that. Getting to hit the tee shot across like the hotel on the road hole, number 17, like that, I don't know. There's so many exceptional holes, but that's one of like those moments that's kind of hard to beat.
What about you?
Yeah, I think there's honestly two that come to mind to me. 14 at Cruden Bay with the bathtub green is just one of the most unique holes that you can play. You kind of crest this hill, you're hitting a blind shot into the green, and you get down there and have no idea what to expect. And whatever it is that you do expect, it's not what you have. That one's really cool. And I would say it's at 15 at North Berwick. Where's the Stonewall? Or is that earlier?
I think it's
13.
13 or 14, yeah.
There's just Nick had played it before me, and so I'd heard about this hole for like 2 years, maybe longer, probably like 4 years, and finally getting to play it, and that was pretty special. There was a lot of household hype around that one, so it was a
Very nice. All right. Give us a course in Scotland that never has hosted the Open that you think should host it.
Ooh.
And it doesn't have to be like you were saying, like somewhere that doesn't have the facility or space to do it, but like what would be a really cool course to host?
It's, I'm trying to think, like, what are the ones that I think would be a great test, and I don't know, would be fun to watch golf on is Western Gales, just around the corner from where the Open was this year at Troon. It's part of like that stretch of, I won't be able to rattle them off the top of my head, but there's basically 11 golf courses that are more or less touching all in a row, from like Kilmarnock and Troon and Prestwick St. Nicholas, and Western Gales is in that list. And that's one of the ones that is, kind of high up there on the, maybe not hidden gems, but like it's not on the tip of people's tongues, alongside like Carnoustie and Muirfield and the Old, and like sort of that like 1A type of tier. And it's I'm not sure if it's long enough to totally hold up to the highest level of the game, but I think it's a place that would be pretty fun to watch some high level golf on.
All right. Who would be in your dream foursome? You can exclude each other. That way you get 3 apiece.
I always joke that Rory McIlroy is my favorite sports team, and it's like I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and like I'm just a glutton for punishment. It's like I would be just, if I was bigger into basketball, and if I were American, I'd be like a Knicks fan too. Like I'm just like, I like the teams that just get punched in the face a lot. So Rory is like my guy. He's always been my guy, so he'd be in my list. One like maybe my other favorite golfer is, I think Charlie Hull on the LPGA Tour is hilarious. I think she is like, I don't know if she like means to be, but she is like one of the funniest people on the planet. She's like, we went to the KPMG women's PGA at Sahali. It's like 3 hours south of where I live. It was in June. And she walks 250 yards ahead of her group and her caddy. She's just like fidgety. We saw her like drop a ball on a tee box with no tee on a par 3 and just like chunk it 40 yards short into the water. Like she's just like a birdie and double bogey factory. She posts herself wearing like fake Louis Vuitton leggings and like Louis Vuitton sunglasses, like while playing practice rounds on her Instagram. Like I just think that she is like one of the most fascinating athletes. Like I think she's hilarious. So I would want her in my foursome. And then I'll say Haley too.
wow. That's made the cut.
Yeah,
Wow, he even had the option of not including you.
Yeah.
No
Three,
pressure.
three people that are going to beat him. All right.
Pressure's on to include Nick. Um, yeah, I think I'll try to go beyond who Nick has named. I mean, we're both big Max Homa fans. Hard not to like the guy. We admittedly, I know you guys are Americans, so apologies, but we were cheering for Europe at the Ryder Cup. We kind of had to. We were like pretending to be Scottish. And Max Homa was the exception to the rule. It's like impossible not to cheer for the guy. We saw that chip in hole out on 15, and it was like the talk about coolest golf shot ever. So I'd say Max is high up there. Borrowing from Nick's LPGA list too, Nelly Korda. Like again, hard not to like her. I can only imagine I play better golf watching her tempo for 18 holes. And I think I'll say if it wasn't Nick in the fourth spot, I have a big crush on Martin Keimer, and I have for a long time. I know that's a niche choice, but I think I'd have to give a spot to Martin Keimer.
Man, no Canadians or Scottish golfers have made the list.
Yeah.
Maybe Bobby McIntyre, honorable mention. I'm a lefty like him, and Scottish golfer. He's like a double quota there.
Yeah. All right. Jonathan's favorite question wants to know, and we talked about food earlier. What's the favorite snack on the golf course?
Oh man, I was thinking about this earlier when Nick was answering your food question. So when the first time we played the old course, we discovered that they sell macaroni pie. These are like little handheld, like savory pies filled with macaroni and cheese at the St. Andrews Links Trust courses. That is a life-changing experience. Yeah. I don't know if I could do it every day and still walk the golf course. But that's what comes to mind, macaroni pie.
Do they have a cart that brings it out to you during the round like they do it? Like if we had that in America, they would just like put that on the hot side of the cart and just bring that out and let us try it. I'd eat that all day long, every third hole.
The only beverage cart I remember seeing in all of Scotland was on Carnoustie, because Carnoustie is it's like technically a dry county or something like that, so they're not actually like allowed to sell like liquor or alcohol in any way on the golf course, but they have this like it'd be like a mobile coffee cart or like a food truck that they had on like the seventh tee or something like that. But a couple courses will have like a turn stand or whatever. Most of them are out and back links, so you don't actually return until 18. But some of them that do have like that 9 return to the clubhouse type of routing, that's where you can get your macaroni pie.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. I haven't had dinner yet, so I really do want some macaroni pie. Now I want that. All right. What is your favorite golf course logo?
Ooh,
that's a great question. I'm curious. Nick has a very strong point of view on logos, and also collects. We have, I think, like up to 71 hats between us or something. So I'm curious to hear what your answer is.
I don't know, like how. I don't know how like original it is. All these places I haven't played or like even sniffed, by the way, but like some of the classics that are probably on the tip of everyone's tongue, like Marion is an insanely good logo, Fisher's Island, like Sleepy Hollow I've always been partial to with like the Headless Horseman, I think is really like sweet. I like classic logos like that have a little bit of character and kind of stand out on a hat or on a polo or something. I think one of the things that like I have sort of a dream on consulting for some of these UK courses is that they've got these really great traditional crests, but they don't do a great job from like a marketing perspective of like taking elements out of that crest and putting it on merch. So like they sell the whole crest and it's like this big on the front of your hat, and it's like, oh no, like there's a squirrel in your logo. Just put a squirrel on the hat, or like shrink that down a little bit. Like it can't be like the entire size of my pec. Like it's got to be like a little bit smaller on the polo. So any links courses that want me to consult as a amateur brand guru, hit me up.
That's a great idea. Great idea. All right, what's the favorite club in each of your bags?
Haley's gonna say her 7-wood, and she's right to say it. I love my driving iron. I have a 3-iron 20-degree. It's like a Strixon, forgiving head with like a graphite shaft in it. And over the last couple of years, I've learned to, kind of hit it. And having an option to get out there, sort of 220 carry, sort of 235 or so total, it's become a nice little security blanket on a par 4 when I just when it feels like a little bit tight and I need to get something out there. I used to not really have an option for that, so that's quickly becoming my favorite club.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's pretty good. I like, you know, I don't hit the ball. I like to play a longer tee. I like to play like the whites or blues or whatever the equivalent is at a course. But the reality is I hit the ball like 230, 235. So that often does mean that I have some meat left on the bone, especially on longer par fours. And I put this 7 wood in the bag last year. I can't miss it. And it also is like coming in from a pretty high angle of attacks or descent, sorry. So it actually like holds a green. You know, if I need something if I'm 200 out and I need to land and hold a par four, it's kind of my go-to.
No, if you're really good, it is the angle of attack because you're attacking the pins.
Maybe I should get a 7 wood. I hit irons off the tee, so maybe I should find a 7 wood or something to give me a little bit more length.
You need one of those driving irons.
I would love to have a driving iron. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Finish this sentence. The best thing about links golf is?
Options.
What do you mean by options?
There's very, very few courses in Scotland that you couldn't play with a 5-iron and a putter if you wanted to. Like, there's no such thing except for like the most modern, newly built links of like a forced carry. Like, our friend Molly came and visited us. She's a member at a golf course. She's a keen golfer, like, a dozen times a year, something like that. She's like a 34 handicap. And she was intimidated. And we played the Eden course in St. Andrews, which is an awesome sort of add-on that people should think about. It's like, what is it, 65 pounds?
Yeah, and you're next to the old course.
It's Harry Colt who built it, who's done a lot of like the top work, including like building Muirfield. It's got great hair. Like, it's got one of the stupidest holes in Scotland. And apart from that, it's like excellent. And she played it and she was intimidated. The wind blew that day. It was like, we love to exaggerate about wind, but it was like a legit 20, 25 mile an hour wind type of day. And, she's like more comfortable with her 6-iron than with her driver. And so she's hitting 6-iron off the tee, sort of quasi topping it, thinning it. And it just runs for 150 yards. And she's like, that's great. Like, she could get around this course. She could hit her 6-iron twice, then hit a pitch and she'd have a par putt. Whereas she's like, man, the course I play, like, if you don't hit it 60 yards in the air at least, which doesn't sound like that much, but when you're a beginner, that's not always a given. Then you're in like long grass, and then I have to like pick it up and take it up to the fairway. And the fact that you can play a low shot, you can play a high shot, you can, if you want to, and you have a death wish, you can take your lob wedge out and try to nip it off really, really like, tight lies, or you can, basically putt from off the green with a hybrid. It kind of unlocks creativity. You get a little bit less ego driven with your club selection, and sometimes it is a 6-iron from 135 yards because you're dead into the wind and it needs to stay low. And having those options to play with is fun. It's a little bit less like, oh, I'm 170 yards away, I hit 7-iron, because that's what the number says.
Yeah, I would say quirk. Links golf is quirky. We often say, I think it's easy to play a North American golf course and talk about like a gimmicky hole. And we're the first to complain about them if there really is like a silly golf hole in the middle of a good course. But the reality is, in Scotland, like, you have to embrace it. There's hidden pot bunkers off the tee. You can hit what you think is the absolute perfect drive down the middle and wind up basically like trying desperately to get a ball just back on the fairway to play for bogey. We do encourage our customers when they're heading to Scotland for the first time, like, be open-minded to quirk. Golf in Scotland is not fair. We're not trying to play fair golf the way that, we maybe wrap our heads around here. You've got to love the quirk to love golf in Scotland.
Man, 6-iron and a putter, I'm in.
You're talking Jonathan's love language. Mac and cheese, 6-irons, putters.
Right. Well, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Jonathan will be calling you all soon. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't drink beer, which I think may be my downfall whenever because it sounds like you probably have to like beer a lot of places, but I could double up on macaroni and cheese for just
That's right. Very nice. Well, guys, Nick, Haley, it's been a lot of fun getting to know both of you guys. Excited what y'all are doing with East Sands Golf Co. I did see this quote on your website. Not only do they know golf, but they know how to experience a place. So I highly recommend anybody out there that is thinking about planning to do a Scotland golf trip. There are options, but go check out East Sands Golf Co. Nick and Haley will be the ones taking care of you, and they know what they're talking about. So give them a shout. You can check out eastsandsgolf.co, and then on Instagram, East Sands Golf Co. or the $1 Million Match on Instagram as well. So Nick, Haley, thank y'all for joining us today on the Whole Story Podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. That was a blast, you guys.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Well, for Jonathan, this is Robbie, and this has been another episode of the Whole Story Podcast.